All right, everybody, we are live right here at the Sports Truth. Myself, Mike Valentine. That is the unmustached. Oh
Yep,
my God, where'd that thing go? Mitch
it's
Middlebrook.
coming back.
What?
It's coming
Oh,
back.
now how
Fresh
many?
start this week.
Now I gotta ask, buddy, how many days is that? Because you know, I I've been growing this for like 2 weeks, and you see where my little stubble's at. How many days has the stash been gone, brother?
We're going on 4 days now since Friday. So yeah,
Wow,
4 days now.
four.
It's coming back. It's slowly but surely.
Man, we need to do like our own little Twitter poll. Do we like Mitch without the mustache or with the mustache? I don't know.
I don't
I
know. I don't know if I'm ready for that answer. They might say go back to the stash.
I like the unstashed Mitch Middlebrook here, but we'll see what everybody else thinks. Go ahead and shoot us over some things here. I know we're starting a little late. Apologize for that. Mitch and I were doing a little bit of talking off air, kind of some things that we're looking at doing. We are really, really, really going to put some things together for you here over the next few weeks. We got some stuff that we are planning. And man, I want to give Mr. Mitch Middlebrook some props here. Look at the background there, buddy. That is it looks like Chase Field in the background there. What are we doing here, bud?
Pretty much, yeah. American Family Field's a sister field to Chase Field, but yeah, figured I'd try something new. You know what? I think I like it. I think we'll go with this from now
I actually like that background a whole lot, buddy. So yeah, we're gonna do this, and I have to say I'm a little jealous right now. You got that background cranking. You got the top lip showing. You're just coming with your A game today, man.
on. Man,
I know I'm gonna have to step up a little bit here. I don't know. But big. All right. So we're going to do some things a little different today. We got the three fun facts. I got a whole bunch of these. So I'm really getting into this. I love my stats. I didn't get the chance to write as much this week as I usually do. So therefore, I've been able to kind of stack these fun facts. We're going to do this like three different times today. So our facts are going to be big and our facts are going to be a little more often than usual for today. We are going to do four down territory. You may have to stop me here because I got something on the NFL four down territory, as I'm sure you can see by all the notes. Let me put it to you guys this way, guys. Mitch knows this because he could see the notes. I have never done more than one page on the entire four down territory topic. Today, I did like a page and a half on the first question. So there's a bunch of notes written here, and we are going to get into something big here. We got a Twitter poll question to do with the football. We're going to talk about the Detroit Lions and the Carolina Panthers. We're also going to talk about Tua and the concussion-related protocols here on our NFL four-down territory. And we're going to jump into college football. We are also going to do MLB. We got some Dodgers to talk about. We got the Brewers to talk about, somebody's team. We got a really interesting topic with the Minnesota Twins as well. So I think this is really going to be a great show. Then we're going to end with the Arizona Fall League. And of course, we can't have a show now without going to church, right? So we're going to do that as well. All right. So, Mitch, let me hit you with three fun facts right away, and then I'm going to time it. Here's how we're going to do this a little different, right? I haven't even told you yet, but here's how I want to do it, right? So I'm going to give you three fun facts. We're going to pick one of those three. Actually, you are going to pick one of those three. I'm going to give you a little bit of control here on this show for a change, right? You're going to pick one of them, and we're going to talk about it for 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on. I don't know what the deal is with this room, but I don't know. I feel like I'm crying over here. Look at that. Look at that nasty looking bald head there. That's why I keep the that's why I keep the headset on. I mean, there's a reason for all that kind of stuff, and now you guys know what it is. See there, it covers up how ugly that head is. So, all right, uh, Mitch, as we share with our listeners as well, we're at double digits already, and we certainly appreciate that. Again, sorry for coming on a little bit late. It's all Mitch. So Um, Here we go with our 3 fun facts. Number 1 of 3. Mitch, here we go. If your team is currently 0-2 in the NFL, you have an 11.5% chance of making the playoffs. So if you've got one of these teams that's 0-2 already, the chances of your team making the playoffs are not very good. Number 2, the Steelers and Broncos tied for 19 points in their game on Sunday and 19 penalties in their game on Sunday. So 19 of each one. And the last thing we got here is Arizona's kicker, Matt Braden. All right, he hit a 57-yard bomb on Sunday, which was his 81st kick of his career. That was over 50 yards. This is 80. Let me make sure I get the right number. My eyes are killing me here. The 81st of his career. That was over 50 yards. So take one of those. Give me 30 seconds, and then we'll move on to our first topic in NFL 4-down territory. Which one you want to choose?
Cool, man. Really interesting ones and pretty fun facts. But I think the one that stood out to me the most was the 11.5% chance to make the playoffs if you're 0-2 right now. I mean, the NFL season is short, but it's longer than ever. And to think that 0-2 drops your chances that low is pretty wild to me. I honestly wouldn't expect that. Um, and there's some good teams that I think that are good teams that are 0-2 right now. I'd be really interested to see how many of those teams that are currently 0-2 still come back and make the playoffs. Um, and I bet you they don't give themselves an 11% chance. I bet you they still are all in to make the playoffs, even if you're 0-2 right now.
Right. And then the other thing that we're going to do is later on when we go to church, you know how we do this, right? The amen or the oh no. And what we're going to do is we're going to do the opposite side of that. We are going to look at all the 2-0 teams, and we're going to say which one of those teams do we currently believe in, and they will make the playoffs. So that's going to open up that door a little bit, maybe for some of those 0-2 teams. So we're going to keep track of that for the entire season. Which team started off 0-2 and which team started off 2-0, and we'll take a really hard look at that as the season goes on. That'll be a great time for us all. All right, so here we go. Right now, Mitch may have to hold me back here. Taylor's team struck again. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to refer to them as their given NFL name to me, at least for the rest of this season, because I'm so tired of seeing that woman. That's Taylor's team, right? All the little 8-year-olds across the nation that have long hair and feather boas and lipstick and shake it off or whatever, right? We're all happy on Sunday because Taylor's team won again. So I am tired of the obvious collusion between the NFL and Taylor's team. The pass interference call was less than a minute, and I'm going to admit this right now. That was the right call. Okay, Mitch, what do you think about that call? Was that okay? So that was the right call, right? Yeah, I can't say, oh well, that was a terrible call because social media blew up, and I'm sure you saw it on yours. I saw it on mine. We saw it on our X account. Already got 2 comments rolling up here. Let's see what those are. Um, Paula's got a couple things here, so let's bring her up. Paula, look at that new picture for Paula right there. Look at that. Doing some glamour shots there, Paula. That looks nice, girl. I mean, we got all kinds of changes, and I'm not involved in any of them here. We got new backgrounds, we got no mustaches, we got new pictures. So she likes your background, buddy. And then she also has this to say, and I agree with you, Paula. We'll get to that here in a little bit. She loves going to church. So loving that segment. So am I. I know Mitch is too. We talked about it off air. So can't wait for that here in the fifth. So, yes, that was the right call. I did not like that call. Okay. Here we go. It's paying people. Now, Mitch, you got a brother? Is that how this works here, buddy?
Yeah.
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 One of the weddings that you went to over the summer, right? When you went on
That's
like
right.
your endless tour of weddings for like months on end. Yeah. Yeah. And you said you
Yeah,
got no more of those for the rest of the year, right?
exactly. But that was one in the gauntlet. Yep.
Okay. Okay. I've got you all to myself now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm telling you all, we are going to do this thing, and we're gonna look. Really, I want some people's comments here. What do we think about mustacheless? That's kind of hard to say. Mustacheless Mitch. Um, I like this look. I really do. I'm not sure if I like it when you look like you're going to lick the camera lens there, but I oh man. So here we go. We're gonna keep cranking Paula's stuff up here, and then I'm gonna tell all of the listeners that we've got here again. Once again, we're already at double digits. Thank you guys for that. I know we were a little late. Um, a little. You're gonna hear me sniffle and everything else, and rub my eyes and everything. I'm a little. I don't want to say I'm a little under the weather. It's allergies. But, we will take care of all that as we go. Yes, yes. Mitch is not only a professional podcaster. Some would argue about that as well, but he is a professional wedding participant, and that is correct. Once again, we appreciate all of you putting your comments in. Mitch, what are you doing? You okay up there? You're like your little arms and hands are going
Yeah,
crazy.
there's no arguing that one. My computer came unplugged. I got to plug it back in. But don't let me stop you. You
Oh
keep
no,
it.
no, sir. We don't wedding people don't let them stop you, and I'm not going to let you stop me here, buddy. All right. So once again, Taylor's team here won, right? I didn't want that to happen, but I also have to admit that that was the right call. All right, the refs did make the right call on that. That was pass interference. But here's what I have a problem with. In real time, I thought the play was clean, and that's not because I'm the big Bengals fan, because I am a Bengals fan, and I'm not going to deny that. Um, but if we lose, we lose. If any team loses, they lose. Right? I'm not that guy who throws things at the television and everything else. That was the right play. But the problem that I have with it, if you go back and if you look, and you go to our X account, which is at the 643&Out pod, and see we have everything up there for us. We're not really allowed to play it here on the podcast because we don't own any of that, any of the rights to any of those things. But we can do it that way. And what I've done is, look at that. He's got the swoosh. He's got a little gold there. What?
Oh, there we go. We're back.
Little Magnum PI-ish there. So yeah, that was the right call. But it wasn't until the ball hit the ground. If you really look at it, and once again, you can go to our X account at D643 pod. You can see the video. I have it up there for everybody to see. The ball hits the ground, and then the referee throws the flag. Right. So if you're watching the play, you should throw the flag when you see the foul, not watch the entire play, look at it, and go, oh yeah, well, I was just told in my microphone that the Chiefs got to win, and that was fourth down, and they're not going to win, so I better throw the flag, right? Because that's what it looks like. Whether that's what it is or not, is open for discussion here, and Mitch and I are going to do that. But that's what it looks like. So the ref who threw the flag was 12 yards behind the play. All right. Again, I've watched that thing. I bet I've watched that flip 50 times. If it was really hard for me to see it in real time, Mitch, I don't know, you can comment on this. If it was hard for you to really see it in real time, right? I didn't realize that it was that way until the replay. And then once they show the replay, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, that was pass interference. There was no doubt about it once I saw it that way. But how can the guy who's 12 yards behind the play and off to the side see it in real time? And the thing was, he didn't see it in real time. He waits till the ball hits the ground. He realizes that Taylor's team is not going to win, right? And then he throws the flag. That's what I have a problem with. Mahomes had time to do all that. If you looked, I believe it was like 7.5 seconds that he had on that particular play behind the line of scrimmage. There's a reason for that. And again, we have all this up on our X account as well. You can take a look at it. The reason why he has so much time is there are multiple Cincinnati Bengals being held. One guy being held by like three people at once, and it's right in front of the referee, and the referee does nothing. So Mitch, I don't want to take up all the time here. I know you had a little bit of technical difficulties that I just kept rambling on for you, buddy. But I want to give you a chance to chime in here. So let me ask you this: was that the right call? First of all, was the pass interference the right call? And then, do you think that he made the call because it was the right call, or do you think he made the call because he realized that Taylor's team was going to lose and he had to hurry up and do something?
Well, yes, I completely agree. It was the right call to make. There was pass interference there. And I also agree that it was really hard to see right away. We couldn't see it, live action. It took some replays for us. But the referees don't get that luxury. They don't get the replay that they can see. So if they're not calling it real time when it's happening and they're waiting for the play to develop, they're waiting for the play to end and then throwing the flag, it seems a lot more suspicious. I don't know if he had trouble getting the flag out of his pocket. I don't know what the delay was for, but there was a clear delay. And when it comes to the Chiefs, those clear delays are going to raise the eyebrows of every fan watching those, because they know exactly what Taylor's team does for the NFL. And that team is not just for NFL fans anymore, it is for all those people tuning into their first football games or their only football game of the week, to watch Taylor's boyfriend go out there and catch 3 passes now that they're dating. I mean, Travis Kelce has really gone downhill. But that's exactly what makes you wonder, like, was it really the right call? And we know from replay it was, but the ref doesn't know that in time. He just knows, the Chiefs just got 4th down, and didn't convert. I ought to throw this flag to make sure they do.
Or even if that's not the way, that's the way it looks. And
Yeah.
I want to be real specific on that. That is 100% the way it looks.
Yeah.
I was so mad on Sunday when all this happened. Um, I believe the Bengals should be 2-0 right now. The NFL, they did it really quietly, but the NFL did admit that play in the end zone at the end of the Patriots game should have went the Bengals' way. They should have scored that touchdown, and they should have won that game. So they should have been 1-0 from the beginning. And then I thought on Sunday, I thought that there were multiple things in that game that could have gone the Bengals' way that did not go the Bengals' way. Everything went Taylor's team's way. And again, it's not that I'm some kind of upset Bengals fan. I just watch football, right? I'm still into baseball more than I am football, but I wanted to start off the conversation with this because it really has bothered me over the last few days. And we're only about halfway through our discussion here, believe it or not. We're going to do some more stuff. So, again, if you go to our X page, you're smiling so big for over there. You're like, oh my gosh, really? You're only halfway done with this? Kidding me, man? But yeah, if you go to our spot, right? If you go to our X spot, which is at the 643&Out pod, you can also see the camera angle of the line. And you can clearly see that on that same play, there are multiple Bengals players being held. And here's what I want to emphasize to all of you. You guys all know this, but I'm not sure if it's emphasized enough. So I'm not sure if we realize it, right? So there are multiple referees on every play. You got a side judge, you got a line judge, you got a person that's way down at the end of the play, which was the guy who made that pass interference call. So you've got multiple stripe wearing people, whether they are men, women, or indifferent, right? None of that stuff matters. I mean, that's not what I'm doing this for whatsoever. But they do that because you can't see everything that goes on the football field at once, right? You can't watch the line and see if they're offside and watch the receivers and see if they're blocking. You can't watch the hip check thing, which we'll get into here in a moment too, with the world. I see that we're having a little bit of difficulty here. I'm just going to go right on cranking. one camera can't pick up all of them. But I do want to say this. Since, and this is a proven fact, right? Mitch, I want to get your thoughts on this. Since 2022, Taylor's team, right? Taylor's team leads the league in games with less penalties than the ones of their opponent, with 15. All right. That's up on our X spot as well. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that's just a coincidence that Taylor's team has the most amount of games since the 2022 season where they have less penalties than their opponent?
Well, I will say Andy Reid's a good coach, and he knows the formula for winning in this league. And the formula for winning is don't put yourself in dumb penalty situations. Don't be penalized as much as you can be. And so I think that has something to do with it as well. But every coach is preaching that to their team. Every single coach is telling their team, don't get us dumb penalties. Don't lose us the game in penalties. Keep the ball and the outcome of the game in our hands and out of the refs. So to see that they have 15 games where they are less penalized than the opponent, that also seems fishy to me. And if it was any other team that even had 16 games and one more game with less penalties than their opponents since 2022 than the Chiefs did, I would say, okay, you know what, then that shakes out. But the fact that it's this team again, it makes you raise your eyebrows and say, what's really going on here? Is the NFL pushing this narrative? Are the Chiefs really that clean of a team? Do they bait every team that they're playing into more penalties because they're so explosive? Whatever it may be, what really is the root cause of this? And honestly, I think it's probably half Andy Reid and half the NFL saying, "Oh, it's our little baby Chiefs. We gotta protect the Chiefs. No one can hurt the Chiefs. They got to be in the Super Bowl every year." So it's really hard to know which one it is, but it's definitely fishy.
Yeah, now I'm going to do this and say, in all fairness, right? And I want to be unbiased here to a certain extent, right? Well, I mean, not to a certain extent. I want to be unbiased whatsoever, right? I don't like it, but I also want to give both sides of it. So, in fairness, Burrow fumbled. That led to a Taylor's team touchdown. Not hard to say. Taylor's team touchdown. So Oshabas dropped a pass in the fourth quarter that more than likely would have picked them up the first down. More than likely would have put them further down the field, closer to a touchdown. Kept the Chiefs off the field, all of that as well. So McPherson also missed an extra point, right, which actually gave them the ability to win the game and not just tie the game. So the Bengals had their chances. Also, Chase getting a 15-yard penalty on what he thought was the hip drop play. For those of you who may not know, that's a big thing in the NFL this year. But I haven't seen them call it once. I watched it again. Texans and Texans, Bears. Thank you. Oh, Bears. The Texans and the Bears later on. Joe Mixon actually got hurt on that play, and that was without a doubt the same play that Chase had on him, and it was that hip drop play that the NFL and the NFLPA has both said, hey, we're going to ban this play. We're really going to be on this. And I haven't seen them call it once. So you can't say, oh, we're going to do this and then not do it, right? It's like us saying that we're going to start the show at 6 o'clock and then wait till 6:15. Who does that? Right?
Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So, yeah, that penalty should have been called. And then I want to talk about this penalty for a second. Mitch, I don't know if you've gone over to our site over the last 3 days. I've got this video clip up on our X as well. There's so much stuff you guys can go look at on our X account right now. Money's funny. You can get a whole hours or so worth of entertainment and not have to go away from our Twitter account, which, again, I'm plugging a whole lot here, is at 643&Out. You can clearly see the referee when Chase comes over to the referee and says something to him. The referee clearly says, "Get the out of my face," and the word I left out rhymes with "duck." All right, and he says, "Get the out of my face," and then that's when Chase goes crazy and gets the 15-yard penalty called on him. So if we don't want the players doing that, we don't want the referees doing that, right? We neither side of this coin can be unprofessional. So, Mitch, let me ask you about the unprofessional part of the referee and the unprofessional part of the player. In this case, um, Chase. What about that?
Well, I think it really falls down on the referee in that case. Players get heated and they really have a lot of emotions going on in this game. This game is their entire life, it's their livelihood.
And this
Um,
is a
and
big game for both teams, right?
yeah, exact huge game. This has huge playoff implications. It has potential home field advantage implications. It has seeding implications potentially if the season goes both way, or the way that both teams thinks it's going to go and hopes it goes. But as a referee, you can't give in to that stuff. You know you're going to get name called. You know people are going to come after you. You know people are going to be screaming in your face. As a referee, you have to be bigger than that and not give in to them and feed into this. So I think that's a really bad look for the referee. I think he also came out after the game and said, "Hey, Jamar said some really terrible things to me, some things I've never heard on the football field before, and personal things to me." You know what? That's all fine and dandy. It shouldn't have been said, but at the same time, you can control your reaction. You can't control what Chase is saying to you, but you can control your reaction as the referee, and you've got to do better than that. You've got to be the adult in the room when receivers and all the divas in the NFL are going crazy. You've got to be better. So I completely agree. Things get heated, but I just think the referees have to be better than that and not engage. You got to remove yourself from the situation. Referee, just keep walking. Don't turn around and make this sly comment and then egg them on even more and then throw a flag. Just keep walking the other way. Let the players get in the middle of it and calm Chase down, bring him back to their sideline, bring him back to the huddle. But don't turn around and egg the guy on when he's clearly irate.
Right. My thing with this whole deal, and again, I'm pretty sure we're on the same wavelength here, but I want to make sure. Um, the referee can say something. Okay, fine. If the referee and the player want to jaw back and forth, just like two players jaw back and forth, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. The problem that I have was the referee was jawing back and forth with the player, and then the referee has that flag, right?
Exactly.
The referee can toss the flag at the end, and he can win, right?
Yep.
And that is what I don't like about it. Uh, so if you're going to jaw with the player, fine. Jaw with the player, keep the flag in your pocket, or don't say anything to the player, like what you were saying a few moments ago. Start to walk away, and then if the player still follows you and is on you at that point, and you want to throw the flag, fine. But I don't believe as a referee you can ag it on, and then once you do ag it on, you get all butthurt about it, and then throw the flag too, right? It has to be one or the other. Now I've kind of led this whole segment up to this point, and I'm going to say a statement, and man, I want yours, and I want all of our listeners' response out here as we continue to jump up in numbers, which we appreciate. Um, Here it comes, and here we go. Right, so the Patriots back in the day, and I have said this from day one, and I've gotten a lot of flack out of this. Mitch is smiling; he knows what's coming. He saw the notes. He's like, "Oh, I can't believe you're going to do this. I'm not sure if you should go here, but I'm going." So we're gonna run. We're gonna run full speed through this wall, right? The Patriots back in the day won because they cheated. All right, we all know they did. They taped stuff they weren't supposed to tape. They deflated things they weren't supposed to deflate. There was all kinds of things that allowed the Patriots to win, and the NFL didn't step in, didn't really do anything, didn't punish them. The the Patriots were like the Yankees of the end, MLB, right? They were allowed to do this and allowed to get away with it, and because of that, people either loved them or hated them. You've got this big rivalry with all these other teams and everything else, and it really pumped the sport up. It's no different than McGuire Sosa smacking home runs over the fence, right? A lot of us didn't like it. A lot of us don't agree with it. I'm the old guy as well that says no. I did not like it. I really thought that was a terrible look. Paula agrees with me. I knew I liked you, Paula. We keep you around for a reason. That's just to agree with you, okay? So now Taylor's team, it's obvious that the NFL was doing the same thing with Taylor's team, right? So here's my question for you, Mitch. I'd love to have your comments on everything that I was just saying about the cheating and everything else. But do you think that the NFL wants that attention off of that controversy and they're doing this on purpose? I mean, we've been talking about this for the first 15, 20 minutes of this podcast, right? Um, or so is it the attention that the NFL wants, or is it a black eye on the NFL because of what's going on? Go ahead, Mitch.
Well, I think the NFL believes there is no bad publicity. It's all good. Anytime you can get people talking about your sport, about your game, and get more eyes on it, the better. And I think that's exactly the mantra they're taking right now. Um, I think the difference here in what we're seeing with the Chiefs and what we saw with the Patriots is the NFL is helping the Chiefs do what they're doing right now. The NFL was not helping the Patriots. The Patriots were taking it on themselves, and they were doing things that actually the league disciplined them for doing. The Chiefs are not doing that. The Chiefs are not getting disciplined. The NFL is actually helping, or at least not hurting or um, penalizing the Chiefs, pardon the pun, but not penalizing the Chiefs. And they're actually helping them do what they've been doing. So I think that's the difference here. It's not the Chiefs going out of their way and blatantly cheating like the Patriots have in the past. It's that the Chiefs and the NFL are almost in this, well, if you don't say anything, we won't say anything, and we'll just keep rising to the top together. And they're hoping that any publicity is good publicity. And it's very, at least to me, my opinion, it's very clear that they want this controversy. They want people talking about the Chiefs. They want people talking about Taylor Swift. They want people talking about the NFL. And I think they're hoping, you know what, maybe if we stir up enough around the Chiefs with all these new people watching the NFL, maybe they'll start watching other games and hope that all this controversy and all this excitement follows every team, not just the team that Taylor Swift's boyfriend plays on.
Right. One of the things that, my wife is not a sports person. She loves me. That's why she loves sports. But beyond that, that's the extent of it, right? So, she's big on TikTok and everything else. Me, not so much, even though I keep saying that we need to grow this sports truth here, which is exactly what you're watching with myself. Mike Valentine, the Cleat Geek, as everyone has called me in the past. And of course, that's Mitch Moneybag Middlebrook over there. Mustache Moneybag Middlebrook. So, she was showing me this TikTok where, this little girl is on there and then, oh, I'm excited about football. And it's like, oh, you're excited about football, Mom asked her, She's like, yeah, I'm excited about football, Mom. She's like, well, what team do you root for? She's like, Taylor's team. And that's the whole mantra that's got me behind the Taylor's theme here. So I believe the NFL is creating this almost, or at least, like you said it perfect. I got to give you your kudos there. You said it perfect. Even if they're not promoting it, they're not doing anything to stop it, right? They're getting behind this machine, and they're just fueling it and letting it go. And I don't know how long they can do it without NFL fans just going crazy, right? It's blatantly obvious right now. Because they're not doing anything, it looks blatantly obvious. And as the season progresses, we're only 2 weeks into the season, right? And there are fans and sports people alike. There were tons of people talking about it on talk shows over the last 48 hours and everything else. How far can the NFL let this go? I think it's going to be a fascinating thing to see how far they eventually had to punish Brady and Belichick and everybody else. How far are they going to let this go before we're going to see some kind of punishment on Taylor's team? All right, I'm going to jump off my soapbox here. We're going to move on with the rest of our NFL four down territory. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to the end of the conversation, Mitch?
Oh yeah, I think that tied it up well. I mean, I'm done talking about this team. I think we've given them enough.
And we've given Taylor's team enough time, right? All right. We had a Twitter poll question out there, and here is what it was. Mitch, I'm going to ask you the Twitter poll question, and then I will tell you how our almost 100 people who have seen this so far. It's only been up for a few hours. I was a little late posting this up. I did it earlier today. So Trevor Lawrence, in his last 8 starts, according to at NFL on CBS, I want to make sure we give them their credit for that. He is 0-7 with 1,652 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a passer rating of 81.9. So I gave you 4 choices. Is Trevor Lawrence 1, elite? Is he 2, still learning? Is he 3, overpaid? Or is he 4? I had a bad moment here. It's not supposed to be A, busy, B-U-S-Y. It's supposed to be a bust. It's supposed to say B-U-S-T. So is he elite? Is he still learning? Is he overpaid? Or is he a bust? Mitch, which one of those 4 would you pick and why?
I'm on B here. I really think he's still learning. He's still a really young quarterback in the league. He's dealt with some injuries that he's had to overcome, and he's still learning. He's finally facing some adversity in his football career. Playing at Clemson, it was kind of a cakewalk for him a lot of weeks, a lot of times. That college football playoff is no joke. But outside of that, he really hasn't faced much adversity. And I'm not saying that being in the NFL is easy, being a starting quarterback is easy. It's not. No matter what, you're facing adversity. But this is real adversity that he's facing now. And I honestly think it's good for Trevor Lawrence because if he is who the Jacksonville Jaguars think he is and want him to be, he needs to overcome some adversity. So I think he's still learning. I'm not ready to say he's a bust, but I do think he's still learning, and this is a really pivotal point in his career to see whether he can turn it around and become who the Jaguars expect him to be, and who his fans hope he can be, or if he's going to kind of fizzle out and be one of those running quarterbacks that doesn't last long and has a really short career. And you always kind of wonder the what ifs. What if he figured it out? What if he could stay healthy? What if he could learn to hold on to the ball and stop fumbling? What if he learned to, read defenses better and limit that touchdown to interception ratio? But I think he's still learning. I'm not ready to call him a bust just yet.
Okay, so earlier in the show, for those of you who I know everybody listens to every second of every show. So earlier in the show, we said in our 3 fun facts, which again we'll do 2 more times during this show, that if you are 0-2, you have an 11.5% chance of making the playoffs, right? The Jaguars are 0-2. I'm going to tie all this together and ask you this question that was not on the show notes. Yes, I'm going to put you on the spot. If the Jaguars make the playoffs after starting 0-2, does your opinion of Trevor Lawrence change?
It definitely does. I think I'm not as hard on him as others are being right now. But that's a big if they make the playoffs. The Jaguars have a pretty tough schedule this year, and especially early on. They've got the Bills next week on Monday Night Football, and then they've got the Texans the following week. So it's not going to come easy for them. They've got their work cut out for them. They still play a lot of really good teams. They play the NFC North this year, which is not going to be easy no matter who they're playing, especially with the way that the Vikings are playing. Honestly, it looks like the Bears might be the easiest one for them out of the NFC North right now. But they've got a pretty tough schedule the rest of the season. So it's not going to be a cakewalk. Making it into that postseason is going to be tough for them. But I think if they can do that, it speaks to Trevor Lawrence and how he is growing and learning the NFL. So I think that would, maybe change my decision a little bit.
Let me put this out there. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm not really go out on a limb, I don't think. But you just mentioned the next 2 games for the Jaguars. They have Monday Night Football. They have the Bills next, and then the game after that they have the Texans. Right, two of the top 5 or 6 teams in the NFL. The Jaguars are going to be 0-4. All right, let's just put this out there right now. The Jaguars are going to be 0-4, and then we are really going to see what Trevor Lawrence is made out of. And I think, like you said, this is going to be a pivotal stretch for him. It's going to be a pivotal year for him. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how he bounces back, or if he does bounce back from an 0-4 season. I mean, will the coach make it? I'm trying to remember his name. You know, the ex-Philadelphia Eagles coach, Will
Peterson.
Peterson, right?
Yep, Doug Peterson.
Thank you. Yeah, will he make it? If they go 0-5, will he make it? Will he make it to 0-6? It's going to be really interesting because there's a lot of people who expect that team to do really well, and I'm not sure if they're going to. So again, we'll see. Let's jump to a different spot here. Let's go to our third thing. Actually, our second thing, because we're not going to count the Twitter poll question in there. From our good friend Kevin Patra, Patra. You can follow him at KPATRA. He said this. I think it's a pretty interesting stat. I know that the mustache can't hold the quivering lip here as we start talking about the Detroit Tigers and their loss yesterday. But the Buccaneers became the second team since the 1970 merger to win a game despite being outgained by 200-plus yards and a sack differential of -5 or worse. So the good thing was your Lions dominated that game. The bad thing was they lost the game. So also from Nolan Bacanti, BAI, BIANCHI. That's how you follow him at Nolan Bacanti again, NOLANBIANCHI. He got a quote from the game and says, This is what your coach said after the game, right? We talked about this a little bit off air. We were tweeting back and forth, texting back and forth before the show, and we said, Dan Campbell said, I asked for improvement last week, and we did improve. We did improve, and their coach cost them. The head coach cost them this. That was a complete quote by Dan Campbell. So I know it hits home for you. I know this is your team. I know this is your coach. So I want to take advantage of that, and I want to ask you this question, Mitch. And again, all of you out there who are listening to us with the numbers, they do keep climbing up. We appreciate you guys. You can jump on board with us. You can leave your comments. We'll put them up here on the screen. We'll talk about them on air, and you can actually be a part of the Sports Truth with us. Do you like it when a coach takes the blame for a loss? Start there. Do you like it when a coach takes the blame?
Yeah, I do. It takes a lot of players, and it shows, you're a player's coach. Whether it really was you or not, it shows that you got your players back and you're not going to just throw them under the bus any chance you get.
Okay, so what if he's doing it simply to protect the players? You started to, I know you're sitting here reading the notes with me, and you're like, oh wait, he's going to jump into that one. I can't go too far here. But I am going to ask you. So, what if he's just simply protecting his players? What if Dan Campbell didn't actually think that he cost him the game, but he wants to protect his players? He wants to take that burden on his shoulders. Do you still like it if a coach says it was all on me?
I do, especially because behind closed doors, and maybe it doesn't even need to be said, but those players know that they outperformed that team and they should have won that game. They know they blew it. They know they're the ones out there between the lines and the ones that actually have to win the game, no matter what the coach does. So I think the players know that they blew that game. But you know what? I think it goes a long way when you're watching the post-game pressers and you're seeing ESPN all week and your coach isn't bashing you and piling on your bad game, and you're kind of blown wind. Instead, he's saying, you know what, I could have been better too. And not even saying too, but just I could have been better. I should have been better. I cost us this win. And they know that's not the truth. They know that it's on them. But I think it goes a long way, and it gets your players behind the head coach when he can say, you know what, this one's on me. Whether it is or not, I think it goes a long way. Other than the reverse side of that of, well, I called the perfect game and my players just didn't go out there and execute the way they need to. Um, these are grown men. This is their, as I said before, this is their profession. This is their livelihood. They know when they don't play like they should, and when they don't execute like they should. They don't need their head coach to pile on. So I do really like that move by Dan Campbell.
All right, so I've got a real simple, short last question for you on this topic, and then we're going to jump into a gambling thing here that also has to do with the Detroit Tigers here as well. So my short, simple question is, do these $1 million players need to be protected?
They don't need to be protected, but I think it goes a long way when your head coach can say, you know what, guys, I'll take this one on the chest. This one's on me. I'll take the heat from the media. You don't need to own up to this. We'll hold each other accountable behind closed doors and in our locker room. We don't need to take this outside. We'll improve. If we keep improving, we're going to win these games and not lose them. I'm fine with them protecting them in this case.
Okay. Well, let's move to our gambling segment here real quick, and it has to do with one of my favorite players right now. This is not me being a homer for you or your team. This is just me really liking the guy on a team, right? And that would be Adrian Hudson. So he registered 4.5 sacks on Sunday. So that the Detroit Lions defensive end is on pace to get 47 sacks this season. And that would be the record. 47 sacks would be the record. So I also want to do this right away here as well, and I want to enter this into your realm, the gambling realm here. Mitch, tell me what the odds are right now. Should we jump in right now, today, as we're looking at these odds? Should we jump in and put a check mark beside Adrian Hutchinson and say he is going to be the defensive player of the year? And if we do, is it actually going to win us any money? Talk to me.
Oh, well, I think it's a really tough one to say when you got guys out there like TJ Watt. And, Aiden's had a great start to the season. He's really going out there and doing exactly what the Lions need him to be doing. But he's currently favored, where it sits right now, favored to win Defensive Player of the Year at plus 400. He's above TJ Watt right now. And I think if you told anybody that to begin the season, they would call you crazy or ask what sports book you're looking at, whatever. But he is favored at plus 400 to win Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt right behind him at plus 450. And then Max Crosby is next at plus 550. So you know what? Even though I'm a homer, I don't know if I'd get behind this Aiden Hutchinson right now, at least. I think 2 weeks in, you've got a little bit to go off of, but I need more. I need to see more, and I need to see consistency more than anything in this Defensive Player of the Year race. So I think you hold off, and actually, I think that number dips and probably gets around 600-700. Maybe if Aiden has some bad weeks, and then you jump in on it if he can get consistent again. That's really where you're going to make your money on this one. Right now, we're kind of in the in-between where he's leading it right now, so you don't want to jump in because it might be too late. But if he runs away with it, this line could go down to, minus 400 if he stays on this pace, and he's going to break the record by this much. But I think right now you wait one more week and see. And if he has a really good week, maybe you jump in to try to get in when you can. And if he has a bad week, you keep waiting it out because that number is going to get even higher, and then your money return is going to be even better.
Okay, so it's not that we don't think it's going to happen, but we're saying hold off for a little bit. Wait a few weeks and see what happens from there, right?
Yep.
Okay, so,
exactly.
so that's your play.
I will tell you one play that I would get in on right now, and it's Aiden Hutchinson to get the most sacks, to lead the league in sacks this season, because he's currently at plus 450 to lead the league in sacks. here's the thing, and the difference that I see in this. If Aiden Hutchinson stays on this pace, and even if he falls off a little bit, he could lead the league in sacks. But with what TJ Watt brings to the game and how much more he can do, um, Aiden Hutchinson could lead the league in sacks this year and still not win Defensive Player of the Year. That's where I think the difference in these two bets are. So I'm taking Aiden Hutchinson to lead the league in sacks at plus 450, which he's
Okay.
also currently favored over TJ Watt in. But I think the difference is TJ Watt brings so much to that defense and so much to the game that writers and everybody that votes on these things, they could easily spin the narrative. Well, look at what the Steelers are doing because of TJ Watt. And if the Steelers have a good season, it's going to be on the backs of TJ Watt. And I think that would push him over the edge of Defensive Player of the Year more than it would the Lions having a good season, because they have that offense. And it wouldn't probably give as much credit to Aiden Hutchinson as it would to TJ Watt for the Steelers.
Okay. So I want to say this. I want to brag on us a little bit here. We have almost 6,000 followers right now on our X account. And what X does is everybody that goes live on X all the time, they put up the top five, right? They put up the top five as far as how many people are viewing that particular podcast, that particular stream that's on X, and just so we can brag on ourselves a little bit, we are currently in that top five right now on X. So we're good to go here, buddy. So if you think people aren't listening to you, you're wrong. We're getting some follows, we're getting some listens, and fantastic. We appreciate everything that all of you are doing for us here. Let's put another comment up here for polish, because I'm not sure I would call it protecting as much as supporting your players as it's good for the team's morale. And that's what you're talking about coaching. Dan Campbell has came out and basically said, "Hey, that was my fault. That was my bad. Uh, I'm going to take all this responsibility on." And of course, um, that's that's fantastic, and we certainly appreciate that. I agree with that, and I thought it was a nice topic to get into here. Loving the fact that we're in the top five here as well. So we thank you for all of that, and like I say, all of you guys can get in with us as well. There is a way for you to just add your comment, clicking in there just like Paula does all the time. And we missed her last week. She wasn't on live with us, I don't think, Paula. So I think that's the first time since we have been on that I didn't see any comments from Paula up here. We missed you. You're just as big a part of the show as me. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit more about football. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. Let me give you Bryce Young's stats here real quick, and then we'll talk about it. Bryce Young's stats in 18 starts, Carolina has lost 16 of them, and he has completed fewer than 60% of his passes. He's got 12 touchdowns, 19 turnovers. Um, those numbers aren't good, Mitch. But what do you think about where Bryce Young is and where the Carolina Panthers are with Bryce Young?
Yeah, they're in a bad spot. They're in a really bad spot. I understand the benching, and I get it. I think the fans get it, but I know we got a lot more to talk about with them, but they're just in a bad spot, and they had to do something.
I think we're going to disagree on this particular topic, buddy. But let me go through some of the other things too. You have to look at it this way, right? He is on his third head coach, and the talent around him is what are we going to say, subpar at best, right? And we're only 2 weeks into the season, and they've already switched him out for Andy Dalton. When he was with the Bengals, I loved Andy Dalton, before Joe Burrow came around. But I certainly didn't go, you know what, we need to keep starting Andy Dalton, and we need to put Joe Burrow over here on the shelf and let him hold a clipboard. No, I think pretty much every Bengals fan in the world was like, okay, we're going. Let's go Joe Burrow. Get him out there. Get him going. We can, Andy Dalton can keep the backup. Andy Dalton can do this, and Andy Dalton can do that as long as he's not starting behind the center. But Carolina Panthers have decided that Andy Dalton is the better of these two quarterbacks. So as we move on here, I'm going to put this question up on the board for us here and show it to all of our fans. Is this the right decision for the Panthers? Mitch, what do you think?
No, and for the exact reasons that you just laid out. And I think the biggest one is that he's on his third head coach already. He's on his third head coach. He's in his third offense in his young NFL career. And
Right.
exactly like you said, it's 2 weeks into the season. You can't give up on your number one pick this early, especially this early into the season in a new offense under a new head coach. You got to give him more time, especially when your backup is Andy Dalton. We know who Andy Dalton is. And, the Panthers know who he is, and they're hoping that he can be the guy that doesn't turn the ball over, that at least gives them some play clock to burn so that maybe they don't get beat as bad as they have been.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the way to play in the NFL. You play to win the game. You don't play to lose less than you would if you were getting turnovers. Bryce Young gives them the best chance to be fun, to be hard to defend. Bryce Young gives them the best chance to win football, even if he gives them a good chance to lose the football game, too. I don't think this is the right decision for the Panthers. I think it's too early, and you had to give your number one pick more time because now what this does is you bench him, it kills his confidence completely. Who knows if he'll ever be able to bounce back now once you've shown him that, hey, man, we don't really believe in you anymore. We just spent this number one pick on you only 2 short years ago,
Right.
and we're not sure if we even believe you can play in this league anymore, let alone be a backup. That's a really, really bad thing to tell your number one pick.
Yeah, your guy that you said was the franchise quarterback, right?
Mhm.
The guy that you traded half the universe and 4 stars from another universe, and maybe even a planet from a third one, right? I mean, maybe our fans don't know it yet, but that trade is not even over because the Panthers, or excuse me, the Bears still have another pick coming in this coming draft that they got from the Panthers in that trade. So what they gave up has not even been admonished, and they're already giving up on Bryce Young. Now, I said that I thought we were going to disagree on this because I thought by the way you were coming at me here with this question that you were going to be like, oh yeah, they should bench him, and no, this is insane. What the heck is Carolina doing? I think more than anything, what this proves is Carolina is a mess. They don't know what the heck they're doing. Why would you do this to him? Why? You know how low you're making even his trade value right now? You're
Yep.
not going to get anything for him. You're in a no-win situation. And when you're in a no-win situation, you may as well play it, right? What you can look at it from the other standpoint and say, well, what do they got to lose? Is this the right decision for the Carolina Panthers? Absolutely not. And I can't believe they're doing this. Somebody needs to smack some people in this ownership group. And by the way, I'm a big wrestling guy, and if the Carolina Panthers and AEW wrestling and everything else are all intertwined there. Um, Somebody needs to get some of these guys in the ring and just beat the tar out of them from pillar to post. Put them in a scrap match or lock them in a cage or something. Let me think of some other wrestling puns I can throw in here, right? Um, I don't know. I'll drive them from the top rope. Do something with these people, right? This organization and this team is just going downhill, and it's going downhill fast. So, no, this is not the right decision for the Carolina Panthers, and it's certainly not the right decision for Bryce Young. So, how far does this set them back, buddy? I know I'm doing a couple other things over here. We don't have any producers or anything else backstage. It's just Mitch and I. That's it. It's all we got here. So sometimes we got to do some things on the fly. So I saw a couple of things on Twitter. I was making some notes down, and we'll get to those here in just a moment. But how far do you think this sets them back with what they're doing with Bryce Young?
Well, I think it's really tough to say because I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if they have a plan and what plan it's setting them back. I think this year was already a loss for them. They knew that going into it. They knew they weren't going to be competing for anything other than the number one pick. And I think, I don't know. It's hard to say how much it sets them back because this year was already a wash before it even started.
It's true. It was already a setback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's the other thing, and this is the other part of this equation that I really want to look at. Um, should they trade him now? I mean, his value is going to do nothing but go downhill. And here's something that I heard someone else on a talk show that starts with an E and ends with an N, right? And I won't put the other two letters in there. Whatever. You can't make him your backup quarterback. All right, you can't do it. Andy Dalton can't go out there and get hurt, and then they bring Bryce Young right back in, right? Oh, now we believe in you. You know what? Go out and lead our team. And you can't do it. And they don't have another quarterback that you and I even know the guy's name. They have a guy in the practice squad, but you know why I didn't put his name down? Because nobody knows who the heck he is, right? They need to go out and they need to get another quarterback. And really and honestly, what they probably need to do, if they feel this way about Bryce Young right now, there are tons of other teams out there, and I'm going to give you two examples. There are tons of other teams right now who have older quarterbacks who are starting, and we're not real sure how good those quarterbacks are, that I think would really take a flyer on Bryce Young. They might even be able to get 2 second-round picks or 1 first-round pick and recoup some of that. Let me give you my two examples here, and then I'll get your comments on everything. What about Seattle? What about New York Jets? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be there forever. We all know it. Could the New York Jets trade or give them something during this trade deadline period to get a hold of a former number one quarterback to back up Aaron Rodgers? Go ahead.
No, I think you're exactly right. You at least got to take a flyer on Bryce Young if you're the Jets. I mean, see what they're asking for, and if it's too high right now, wait a few weeks when he's sitting on the bench and getting cobwebs on him, and nobody's really giving him what they want. And that asking price is going to come down, and it's going to go down real quick because they know you can't bench a guy like this and then put him back in 2 weeks because, he's learning so much on the sideline in these 2 weeks.
Right.
He's who we want now. We believe in him again. Nope, there's no more rah, and there's no more riling of the troops. I mean, they've backed themselves into a corner so bad they have no choice but to trade the guy. And the Jets would be a really good spot for him. Who knows how long Rodgers is going to play? It may only be this year. So if the Jets can bring him in and have him learn from Aaron Rodgers, a future Hall of Famer, all the things that Bryce Young needs to learn, because he doesn't need the athleticism. He needs to learn the game of the NFL and how to play football at this level. If he can do that, he can still get some use out of Bryce Young. And I think now's the time to do that, especially for a team like the Jets.
Right. Paul brings up a great point about Jordan Love, right, with the Packers. Jordan Love didn't pick it up right away. I remember when Jordan Love first onto the scene after Aaron Rodgers left the Packers, we were like, really? This is the guy that they're putting their trust in? This guy, right? And then all of a sudden, you see it. He starts figuring things out. He starts reading defenses better. He starts doing his checkdowns better. And you're like, okay, I see some growth. Here it comes. And now all of a sudden, he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, even though he's on the bench. So, yes, Paula, that's a fantastic take by you. And that's why we really want our fans to comment and put their stuff up here. We will put them up here on our screen. And that's because that's all you need. I love this podcast. Well, I don't know. Maybe you love this podcast and you think that's all you need. I would really like to have 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 people over here in the corners so you can't see them doing all this background work for me. All right, Paula? That's the goal here. All right. All Mitch and I get to be is the face of the podcast. One mustache plus one, and one ugly one, but faces nonetheless. So thank you. Appreciate your compliment. So let's move to Tua. Right. This is the last thing we're going to do here in the NFL until we get to going to church. We're going to go back to the NFL when we go to church here. So if the Miami quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, decides to retire, who do they trade for, or do they wait and try to draft a quarterback in the draft? And I bring that up right now, completely set all this up. What about Miami trading for Bryce Young?
Yeah, I mean they got to do something because Skylar Thompson is not gonna do it. He looks really bad when they put him out there, and honestly, he looks like uh, a scared little kid when they put him in that line. So they got to do something. I don't think they can wait for the year. They either got to trade for Bryce Young, bring in a guy like Ryan Tannehill. They got to do something um, because Tua is now on the IR. So even if he doesn't retire, he's on the IR. He's not going to be back for at least 4 weeks. So if the Miami Dolphins want to win, and win now, they've got to bring somebody else in because they're not going to be able to get it done with Thompson.
Okay, and I agree with that. How far, we said how far back it sets Carolina. If Tua retires, how far back does that set Miami?
Oh, years. I mean, this year's a wash for them. If they don't get somebody, if they can't get Tua back as soon as possible, and if they can't replace him and find somebody that's serviceable in the time that he's going to be out, Miami's going to be set back years because they've got all their money tied up in these wide receivers and now running backs, and they're not going to be able to compete if they don't have, they're paying all this money to Tua. Um, and if he's retiring, they still owe him that money. So all that money is going to be tied up. They are going to be set back a long, long time, especially after just signing that contract. They're going to be in a really bad spot if they don't have
Right.
two behind there.
And we're going to give you those exact money figures here in just a moment. I've got everything broken down for you as far as I looked it up on overthecap.com. So pretty interesting stuff. Should the NFL have a rule about the number of concussions in a certain time frame that they can almost force a player into retirement, or maybe not force them into retirement, and maybe force that player to sit out a certain number of games if you have a certain number of concussions? What do you think about how the NFL needs to handle this as far as concussions and availability to be on the field?
Yeah, no, I'm all for forcing them to be out for a certain number of games. Retirement is really tough to say. I think maybe it's kind of tiered where you know what you say. Okay, you get this many concussions, you're out for this many games. If you get this many in this short period of time, we can't put you back out on the field because that's putting us really liable for ruining your life, and turning you into a vegetable. And we're not going to be a part of that. Maybe the NFL, kind of breaks it out tiers of this amount, you get this many games. This amount, you're done. We can't play you ever again. You can't touch an NFL football field. I think that's the way to go because I do think it would go a long way if the NFL actually took a stand and said, you know what, we're going to protect our players. We're going to protect these guys because there's more than the game of football. I think Mike McDaniel said it perfectly to Tua as he was walking off. He said, "You're the quarterback of your family. Take a step back and think about your life. There's more than just football. You got to really reevaluate what your priorities are, and start thinking about life after football because the more these concussions happen, the more that life after football is creeping up, and it's going to start getting there really quick."
And I have to, this isn't in the show notes either, Mitch, but man, you brought it up, and I have to do this real fast. Mike McDaniel got absolutely toasted, grilled, thrown up behind a podium, and they're like, okay, go be the face of the Miami Dolphins. Go tell everybody what they want to hear. And he did it minutes after the game, right? Minutes after talking to him. And man, I want to give Mike all the credit in the world. He handled that spotlight beautifully. He didn't say anything stupid. He didn't commit to things he shouldn't have committed to. And he's a good coach as well. But I really think the guy, as a communicator, really showed here over the last week or so with everything he has done with the Miami Dolphins. So last part here, and then we'll get into the cap structure and who's liable for what and how much money and all that stuff. So if you're really concerned about that and you want to know these numbers, give us about a minute and a half, and we're going to give it to you 100% here on the Sports Truth. Myself, Mike Valentine, that's Mitch Middlebrook, right there. Does the NFL need to put concussion language in every contract when it comes to guaranteed money? Yes, I'm setting this up for the numbers here.
I think so. I think there definitely needs to be some language about, protecting both the team and the player. I don't think it should only be, well, if you get this many concussions, we don't have to pay you anymore. I think it should also be, well, you know what? If you get this many concussions and you can't play anymore, we will give you this amount that we can kind of meet in the middle because we still signed you this contract. You could still play in the NFL based on your talent. But because of the way of this game and how violent and how dangerous this game truly is, we understand the risks. So we're willing to meet you halfway so that, you know what, if worse comes to worst and you do have to retire because of your concussions, you'll at least still get this amount in good faith to say, we appreciate what you've done for us. We're sorry you can't continue in this league because of the health risk and the health concern that this poses. But you know what? At least take this, provide for your family, and make an even split from the NFL, and hopefully, still have some livelihood when you're done with this game.
Right now, I know that we're going to get some good takes here by Paula. We got another one over here that I can see that we're going to get to from Paula as well. Paula's coming with some good takes today. I know it might be intimidating for the rest of our fans who are listening to this, but please jump in, put your own comments up there. We believe in all of you, not just Paula. She's got some good stuff here because it's a horrible thing to see. I've worked with ex-NFL players who need a lot of help after giving their health to the game. I like how she put that, giving their health to the game. Maybe even say giving their life to the game, right? Yeah, because that's what you're expected to do as an NFL player. And then she also says this, let me put that one away and bring the new one up. Here we go. It says concussion language needs to be NFL wide and agreed by both sides. The player's health is on the line. She makes a very good point there as well. It needs to be agreed on by both sides, both the union side of things and the player's perspective and the owner's side and the NFL side, the whole making money part of this equation. Great take, Paul. We certainly appreciate you and everybody else that jumps in and throws these takes up here with us. Thank you for being part of the Sports Truth. So let's look at the numbers, right? Let me grab my notebook, get it a little closer to me because I'm starting to get old and it's a little hard for me to see that far away. So you can see me turn my head over there because I don't have one of these expansive studios yet. So we're working on this stuff. As soon as Mitch gets some sponsorship for us, hurry up. So you see us drinking stuff. I mean, we're disguising stuff in cups. We don't want to disguise stuff in cups, man. We want to give you some plug for your drink or whatever it is, right? And we just want free stuff. All right, it's not that hard. I'm sure somebody that's out there is someone for one of these drink companies out here and can help us out. So if Tua retires, and we want to say if he retires and then it's a voluntary retirement, it's two different things. Okay, so if Tua retires, his 2025 guarantee will be void, and that would be roughly $50 million. Excuse me. So do you really expect Tua? Right. Paula says this, and we agree. Free stuff is always good. So when Tua would walk away, right, he would walk away from $50 million. Mitch, do you expect Tua to walk away from $50 million? Would you walk away from $50 million, buddy?
No, I don't expect him to walk away, even if he has to get a walker and walk onto that field. He'll at least be on the sidelines and helping the team. He's not going to walk away from that $50 million.
Okay, so it gets even more complicated here because when he signed this new deal, right, he received a $42 million signing bonus. And if he again, so this is where it gets into retirement and voluntarily retire. So if he voluntarily retires, because that's how the language is written in the contract, right? He would only receive a prorated amount of that $42 million signing bonus, which would mean that, kind of depending on when he does it and how he does it and all this, because I don't want to get into all the semantics of it, but he would have to give back roughly 30 to 32 million of that $42 million signing bonus that he has already been paid. So between the two, he would lose about $80 million if he decides, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna choose my family over this NFL career, and I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna just retire, right? Because everybody's like, okay, so it's time for you to retire. You have to take your family, and blah 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 blah. But they're not on that other end where it's like he's looking at it going, I'm throwing away $80 million, right? I can set up my family for life. I can set up my family for life, right? There is a huge angel devil thing, right? One on each shoulder almost in this situation. Talk to me about this and what you really think is going to happen in this situation. Is Tua going to give up that kind of money, or how is this all going to work out, buddy? Let's try to get out our football crystal ball and figure this out.
Well, and I think perfectly there is he can, with that amount of money, I mean, giving up $80 million potentially, he can think about his family while also not retiring. He can think about his family and his family's family and his kids' kids and his kids. I mean, he can think about his entire extended family with that amount of money. So you know what? Maybe he says to himself, this really isn't good for me, and eventually I got to hang this up. But I'm going to stick it out as long as I can, and if anything else happens, fine. I can walk away and I can talk to my family and say I got to stay out there as long as I can. And if one more thing goes wrong, then I'm fine hanging it up. I'm fine walking away. But I need to do this for us, for my kids, for their kids, for everyone in the family. And I think he can be a family man and think about his family while also not walking away right now because of how much money he stands to gain or lose if he does walk away.
All right, I agree with everything that you're saying. I agree that he's not going to walk away with 80 and forfeit basically $80 million. Um, no matter what everybody says, your health's more important and all this kind of stuff. We can all say that because we're not in Tua's seats, right? We don't have to make that big decision. But I am going to say this. I think what's going to happen. I'm going to go on record right now. I think they're going to come to some agreement. I think the Dolphins will make themselves look really good, and this is something that they should do as a team. This is something that they should do as the NFL itself. They're going to come to some agreement and be like, okay, you were supposed to get X amount of dollars. We'll give you, a quarter of it, or we'll give you this much, and we want you to be an ambassador for our team. The NFL may hire him and say, okay, this is the concussion guy over here. He's gonna do a lot of appearances and stuff like that. And when he does all of this with his family and his friends and everything else, we're going to pay him X amount of dollars. So I don't know. In fact, I'm going to say it. I don't think we'll ever see Tua Tagovailoa throw another pass in the NFL again. But I do think that he's going to continue to work in the NFL. Yeah, I know. I saw the reaction over there. I do think he's going to continue to work in the NFL. I think he's going to be a poster boy for what concussions could possibly do to a player. And that's how he's going to make his money. So he's going to kind of do both. Um, anything to wrap this NFL four-down territory up before we go to college football checkdown, sir?
No, honestly, I hope you're right, and I hope for the health of Tua that honestly he doesn't throw another pass in the NFL, but he can still make his money and still be an ambassador and maybe kind of teach people about the game and the dangers of football. I just hope the best for him, and whatever that may be, I'm fully on board with him and what him and his family decide.
All right, college football check down here as we look at the past week that has been in college football. As it says down there on the bottom, we do have a YouTube channel, Mitch, as we transfer from the NFL to college. Tell us about that YouTube channel, buddy.
Yeah, you'll find us on YouTube at the 643&Out pod. You can find us there, like and subscribe. You'll see our show up right after the show here on YouTube. You can find the full version and, skip to the end, skip to whatever part you want, rewind, hear another part again, and leave some comments down below. We would definitely appreciate any engagement there. And hope to see you at the YouTube.
All right, look at that. You can't even see the music. You timed that perfect, and you can't even see it. Man, tell you what, you are between you and Paula today. You guys are showing me up a little bit. I don't know if I like this or not. The first thing we're going to look at in college football checkdown is brought to us by Swish at SwishX5 is his Twitter handle. You're going to see me do a lot more of this. Mitch and I really haven't talked about this off air or anything, but we are really getting a lot of followers on our account. They say a lot of great things. And I try to retweet them as much as possible, but I also want to incorporate them and give them shouts out in our podcast here. And that is, of course, the Sports Truth. Hashtag that. Hashtag the Sports, SPORTC Truth. And we will give this broadcast every Tuesday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at in the nation. So, what kind of juice you got there in the cup, buddy?
Oh, just water. Just trying to wet the old whistle.
Okay. All right. Whatever. Of course, now again, if we get some sponsorship here, man, I'd hold that thing in my hand the entire time. That'd be right? So,
make that my
drink. Make that my drinky drink. All right. We're going to get into the Arizona Fall League here in a little bit. I've got some great stuff to talk about with that. Mitch and I are very excited about doing that. We're going to try our best to get you excited about the Arizona Fall League that's coming up here shortly. Ohio State wide receivers on Sunday did the following, right? Marvin Harrison Jr., 4 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigma, 12 catches for 188 yards. Chris Olave had 7 catches for 88 yards. And Garrett Wilson had 4 catches for 66 yards. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward question, Mitch. Is Ohio State wide receiver university?
I think it is, and I think the work speaks for itself. I mean, these guys have come into the league, especially Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison basically did all of that in the first quarter and a half of that game, and he was a non-factor for the rest of the game. But anytime you can get a deep ball threat like that can move like Marvin Harrison, that can run routes and that can catch, and as agile as Marvin Harrison is, you've got to take advantage of it. And that's what the Cardinals did this weekend. It seems like every wide receiver that comes out of Ohio State knows how to play in the NFL and knows how to make an impact, whether they're the number 1, the number 2, a slot guy, it doesn't matter. They know how to make an impact, and that school really prepares them well for the next level. I think they are the wide receiver university.
I have to say here real quick, we're gonna talk about the Arizona Cardinals for 45 seconds or so. I thought that was interesting how they did that, right? Because last week they said, I'm sure everybody saw the Twitter footage. It was up on our account too, where Marvin Harrison Jr. was so wide open in the picture, there wasn't even a defender in sight, right? And they're like, what's Kyler Murray doing? Look, here's Marvin Harrison Jr. over here all completely wide open. He didn't throw him the ball, right? So now the Arizona Cardinals came out, as you said, all this happened in the first quarter. Let me give you the stats again. 4 catches, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns, all in the first quarter. And I wonder if this was done on purpose. I wish that I could have been at the presser after the football game. Because I'd have been the guy, all the way in the back row, of course, but that's where I would have been at. That's what they put the ugly pieces, all the way in the back. But I'd have had my hand up, and I'd have been like, okay, Mr. Gammon, was this done on purpose? Or were you saying, hey, this is what Marvin Harrison can do for a quarter? You better watch out, because one of these games, we're going to release this guy for a half, and then we're going to release this guy for 3 quarters, and then we're going to release this guy for 4 quarters, and we're going to score like 150 points and just laugh our way to another victory. Do you think that was kind of done on purpose? That was weird, right? He didn't get anything else hardly for the rest of the game. Well, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it was weird, and I don't know if it was done on purpose, but it definitely played into their hand. And I'll tell you what, right now, I'm gonna have to Google a number for the Detroit Lions and give them a call this weekend and tell them to not fall into the trap when they come down to Arizona this week. Which
That is right.
I'm looking at tickets. I might be at the game this weekend. And if I am, I'll make sure to scream loud enough that Dan Campbell hears me on the sidelines to not lose Marvin Harrison, especially in the first quarter.
Well, see if you can get in the presser at the end. All right.
Yeah,
I mean, whatever you got to do, maybe make sure that mustache is back by Sunday. Okay,
yeah.
I'm sure that's going to help you get in. Get with me in a little bit. I'll have to take a look. I've got a couple connections. So yeah, I'm with you. I do think that Ohio State's wide receiver university, Ohio State, I'm a homer a little bit here. They are my football team. So, um, but that's not what I'm doing this for. I mean, it's obvious, right? As you said, everybody that's wide receiver comes out of Ohio State, just like the best wide receiver that team's ever drafted. So, um, I want to talk about that for a moment. Here's our question. Let's throw it up here real fast for everybody to see. Maybe I should click show again. I don't know. Oh, and I hit the button again that brings in the high. And man, you guys are showing me up today. Should Texas be number one or should Georgia be number one? So Texas, they jack stomped UTSA 56-7, and Georgia squeaked by Kentucky, who's not even ranked, and they beat them by a point, 13-12, even though it was in Kentucky. Mitch, who should be number one right now in the polls? Texas or should it be Georgia?
I think Texas has to be number one. After that beatdown of Michigan 2 weeks ago, and their beatdown of UTSA, I think it has to be Texas. Texas is doing this, by the way, with their backup quarterback, who happens to be Arch Manning, sure, but their backup quarterback. They lost Ewers, and he didn't play this week. So, I mean, I think it has to be Texas. Georgia did not look good against Kentucky. They snuck out with a win. And that's what matters. But I think Texas is the clear number one right now in the season. And I think the college football rankings got it right.
So you don't subscribe to the philosophy that the number one team is the number one team until somebody beats them?
I don't. I think, it can change. I think a lot of these guys, I mean, the top 4 or 5 teams, nobody's going to beat or nobody will beat or has beat. So I think those can swap around quite a bit. But I do think that, there's just because you're number one doesn't mean you're staying there, even though you don't lose.
Yeah, but you were put at number one for a reason, right? I mean, they're number one this year because of what they did last year.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're always number one this year until they're beaten. I mean, if they don't play Texas, but Texas is a better team, who should be number one?
I'm just playing devil's advocate here for a moment. I mean, why should we agree on everything, right? So let's move on to the question number 3. Kent State lost 55-24 to Pittsburgh. They lost 71-0 to Tennessee. And this week they'll take on Penn State. But after this game, those 3 FBS schools will have paid Kent State, you ready? $4.05 million to lose and get humiliated every week. So should a college program do that to their students and their athletes for money? Talk to me about that, Mitch.
Yeah, you know what? I really like this. I think it's nice to see those teams that are underdogs and getting paid to come to those schools and usually get beat down themselves doing the beating. I think that's really nice, and it can turn programs around. I mean, that money is huge for Kent State, and I honestly think that it's really good for college football. If more teams can compete like that, you're either one not going to keep paying these teams that could beat you that much money, or you're going to pay lower teams more money to come play you, and that's only going to help their program. So it's kind of limiting the gap between the power conferences and the power teams. And the lower teams that, the more money they get, the more guys they can get in NIL, and the better team they can put on the field. So I think it's good to see this happening, and those underdogs coming out with the win.
So if you were the athletic director of Kent State University, you'd be okay with it.
I mean, you don't know you're going to lose. You pay the teams because you think you're going to beat them.
Do you really? Do you really?
Well, yeah, that's why you're paying them to go there. You're paying them to get the easy win.
Well, okay, yes. If you're the bigger team, right? Like Penn State,
Yeah.
Penn State already knows they're going to beat Kent State. You and I already know. Well, I don't know if you can pull it up real fast, but I didn't tell you we were going to do this beforehand. I don't know what the spread is. I don't know what the gambling section is. Like, would you even take a shot at Kent State this weekend? You know, the line has got to be just awful, right? But yet the athletic director and the team is going to get a ton of money for this. So I guess I would say that as long as Kent State uses the money to better the program, I don't really have. I mean, if they're going to get beat anyway, they may as well get paid a bunch of money to get beat, right? Right? A loss is a loss, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're gonna lose anyways, if your football team this year isn't great, I mean, at least get the money and try to build yourself a new stadium, build back into the program, and try to build on years to come. Because that's what you got to do. I mean, money rules the world, so it's gonna hopefully help your team in the long run if you can do that. And for $4 million, I mean, are you taking 3 losses for $4 million?
Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
am. Especially if I can use that money, like you're saying, with the NIL money or something. And I don't think Penn State is going to all of a sudden become a top 25 team, right? But can Penn State, or excuse me, can Kent State use that money and be the top team in their division for 3 more years, right? Well, yes, that can happen. Well, they could
exactly.
continually win, and then they recruit people around them, and that it begins that domino effect, I believe. Um, but I want to look at it from one other angle here, and then we're gonna move on to the Pac-12 realignment here, and that'll be the last thing we look at in our college football check down here segment. But what about from a parent's point of view, right? So they have sent their kid to Kent State. They want their kid to be really good at football. They want their kid to have at least a shot at maybe getting drafted in the 7th, 8th, 9th round of the NFL draft. But they've just got beat down and beat down and beat down, and they talk to their kids on the phone. It's like, okay, well, where are you going this weekend, son? Do you think you have a shot at winning? They'll be like, no, well, we're going to Penn State. We're going to get killed again, right? So from a parent's perspective, what do you think about what Kent State's doing?
Yeah, I get it from that perspective, and honestly, I've never thought of it that way. But it is tough, and you don't really, if you're a competitive guy, which all of these people, stepping onto a football field are competitive. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. They all want to win, and so going to a school like that, knowing that you're gonna have at least a few weeks throughout the season where your team is signing you up or your school is signing you up to go get killed and just absolutely destroyed like Tennessee did to them, 71-0.
Yeah.
You know what you're walking into. But you know what? I also saw when Tennessee was up, it was like some absurd amount at halftime, 50-0 or whatever it was at halftime. Tennessee came to them and said, hey, we can go a running clock. We could even shorten the quarters for the second half. We can do whatever you want. And Kent State said, nope, we're playing the full football game, no running clock, no nothing. Kent State had a tilt of a cap for that because at least it shows that they're out there and they want to compete. And they might not be getting it done today, but hopefully years down the line, those seniors or those freshmen right now can come back as seniors and actually be able to compete the way they want to.
Right, and if that gets them to even a smaller bowl game, I was looking. I believe there's 76 bowl games this year. I believe we're gonna get to that later on because it's a thing that I put away kind of on the back burner. It's not real close to that yet. But if it gets them to a lower level bowl game, if it gets them to, and let's look at it this way: if let's say they went to Kent State or they went to Miami of Ohio, right? Same state, Ohio, right? That's where I'm from. I know you probably never set foot in Ohio, and if you haven't, I can't. But they're both pretty close to each other. They're both, I believe, in the same conference. This is the MAC. Unless you play Tennessee, you're not getting on primetime television, right? I saw my kid on ABC. He was the one laying on the ground with his. You couldn't see his number or nothing. He had grass covering him and everything, but by golly, he was right there. He was on ABC, right? And so, from a parent standpoint, you can look at it that way. Hey, I got national exposure, and these individual takes and stuff that we all have on these kids, especially the NFL teams, right? They don't care if Kent State gets beat down 71-0. What they care about is, hey, man, I like that nose tackle on Kent State. Well, man, we got some film on him because he was on the SEC network, or he was on ABC, or he was on ESPN, he was on Fox, Peacock, or whatever. There are so many of these streaming platforms, especially into that conversation later on. Here on the Sports Truth as well. Not today, but we will get into that conversation later. So you can look at it a couple different ways if you're a parent as well. Lastly, here in college football check down, Mitch, the Pac-12 is going through a realignment phase right now. So now they have 6 teams, but they need 8 in order to be considered a real conference from the NCAA. So they got Colorado State, they got Fresno State, they got Oregon State, and they got Washington State last week. So I'm going to give you a couple of things, and I'd like to know your opinion as who you think they should go after, get these last 2 teams, and become a I'm looking on Paula's stuff, and I lost my train of thought. I can't do 2 things at once very well today. So who should they go after to complete this division, right? So should they go after the ACC and get Stanford and Cal? Over on the West Coast, both those teams are. They'd be right there with them. Or should they go after some ACC teams like North Texas, which was, of course, the team that ASU just beat, and they look really good. Their program is on the rise. Should they go after North Texas, Tulsa, maybe UTSA, which we just saw got the snot beat out of them by Texas over the weekend, or Wichita State, somewhere in that, and that's more for recruiting. Those are all in that Texas area of the country there. So, who do you think the Pac-12 should go after next?
I think you got to start with the ACC and go for Stanford and Cal. Try to get big name schools into your conference and rebuild that name of the Pac-12. I think you got to start there. You take who you can get to remain a conference, and I think if you can convince either Stanford or Cal to join your conference, you're off to a really good start, and that really helps bolster the rest of that conference. So I think that's where you got to start. I don't think you're going to be mad about any of them, especially teams like North Texas, Tulsa, Wichita State. I mean, UTSA had a bad showing last week, but at least people know who these schools are. They're programs that are recognizable and you know who you're talking about. And they could be on the rise. So, putting them into a conference like the Pac-12, maybe that's the little extra bump they need to get those recruits and to, put themselves on the next level. So I think you start with Stanford and Cal, but honestly, no matter who you get out of any of the teams you listed, you're not going to be mad because they're at least recognizable names.
All right, so I'm going to give you 3 fun facts again, Mitch. We're going to do 2 New Orleans Saints facts here real fast, and then we're going to do a baseball one. I don't want to give away the baseball one yet. I'm going to put you on the spot here in a second, and I'm just telling you it's coming, right? So the Saints were 2-0 last year, right? They're 2-0 this year. They were 2-0 last year, and they finished 9-8 and missed the playoffs. Just so everybody knows, right? The Saints have had 15 possessions in 2 weeks with Derek Carr as quarterback, and they have scored on every one of them. All right, and I just getting this off Twitter. Let me go back to it. Our X account is at the 643&Out pod. Mitch, what is your X account, buddy?
Yeah, you'll find me down below on the ticker, but also at Mitchell Brook 643&Out on X. You can give me a follow, and I'll follow back, and we can talk some sports.
I'm looking at the live streams on X. We've actually moved up a spot now, so we're good to go here. So there have been 2 instances in Major League Baseball history of a player having a season with the following: 30-plus home runs, 30-plus stolen bases, 10 triples, multiple grand slams in that same season, and multiple 4-hit games. The same person has done it both times. Mitch, I'm putting you on the spot. Let me give you these things again, right? 30-plus home runs, 30-plus stolen bases, 10 or more triples, multiple grand slams in that season, and multiple 4-hit games in that season. And it's been done twice. It's been done by the same person. So you know what I'm getting ready to ask you, who was it?
Well, thankfully, I think I know you well enough now that it's Bobby Witt Jr.
It is Bobby Witt Jr. Look at you, buddy. All right, that is an outstanding stat. Let me read that again, right? So he's done it twice. He's done it in back-to-back years now. He just did it today. So he finished this, I would say trifecta, but it's more than 3. It's a 5-fecta. There we go. I just made a new term. So 30-plus home runs, 30-plus bases, 10 or more triples, multiple grand slams in that same year, and multiple 4-hit games in that same year. Bobby Witt Jr. did it in 2023, and with what he did today, he did it in 2024. It's brought to you by our good friends at Opta Stats at OPTA Stats on X. Let me go ahead and quickly hit the like and hit the retweet button. You can now go to our site at the 643&Out Pod and can read that and follow along with them. They're a great site to have. So, we've done NFL, we've done the college. Now let's jump into Major League Baseball. No music this time. I'll wait on it. We'll do some stuff here in a moment. Let's stick with a team in blue, right, for a nice transition. The Dodgers, let me see, did I think our or no, I don't think I did. Oh, yes, I actually did. So, the Dodgers have lost Tyler Glasnow for the year. All right, it was announced over the weekend. It is official. They're almost desperate for pitching on Sunday. I don't know if you saw it. Are you okay, buddy? Are you trying to figure
Yeah,
out?
those are my tears for the Dodgers. Those are my crocodile tears for the Dodgers. I don't know if you can see them.
Oh man, I was wondering what was going on there. I was like, what is he doing? Okay, all right, you got me, buddy. You got me. Man, you are on point today, brother. You are on point. I think the mustache can stay away. I think you're on point more without the stash. So on Sunday, Shohei Ohtani threw off a mound for the first time. There's some controversy over how many pitches he threw. Some people were saying 10, some people were saying 20. I saw a couple of reports that said like 40. But should the Dodgers pitch Shohei Ohtani? Are they that desperate? Let's talk about this.
I think they are. I think they are desperate, but not that desperate. I don't think you can rush a guy that you just paid $700 million to back and put him in a situation where you might be doing irreparable damage to him and potentially harming the rest of his career just because you need him for a playoff push. I don't think you should rush him back. I think you got to give him the time. You've told him all season, hey, you're just going to DH this year. That's all we're going to put you as. You're only going to be a DH. To say the last 2 weeks of the season, oh, well, things change. We lost this, that, and the other. Now you're pitching in the postseason for your first time in a year and a half. I don't think you can do that to him. I think it would do a lot more harm than good. And they got to think about the years to come and that big contract they put him on. And that big contract of $700 million wasn't to be a DH for the rest of his career. It was to pitch and be a DH. So I don't think you can risk it and put him in there.
I got to stop you a second. I got to say, you sort of brought it up. How much are they paying this guy again?
$700 million.
And you think that they can't ask the $700 million man to pitch in the playoffs?
I think they can, but I don't think they should.
What are they paying him for then?
For the years to come, they're not paying him $700 million this year. They're paying him $700 million so he can last the 10 years of the contract, 12 years of the contract, whatever it was. And the more they try to push him and rush him back, the more they jeopardize that longevity in his career and hopefully the ability to pitch and DH at this level over his career.
So, what if the Dodgers make the playoffs and get ousted in the first round again and become the, I don't know, I didn't look it up, 200, we'll be nice and say, 200, $250 million team that gets ousted from the playoffs, but yet they don't get Shohei Ohtani. What happens then?
I think they got to come back next year and hope they don't get bit by the injury bug so many times. But you can't put all your eggs in one basket, and you can't put it all in this year and potentially jeopardize your future.
Okay, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, but we're gonna move on to the second question because you're smiling really big because you know what's coming here. It's somebody's Milwaukee Brewers. I said this a few weeks ago. The Milwaukee Brewers are a sneaky good team. All right. I really believe that, and it's not because Mitch is here with me. I'm not trying to suck up to Mitch. I can just hit a button right now. Mitch is gone. All right, let me just tell you that right now. Right, it's off the show, whoop, and he is out. Right, so I don't need to suck up to Mitch or his Brewers. I really think they're a really good team. Let me prove it to you. The Milwaukee Brewers have joined only the Los Angeles Dodgers as the team in MLB to win 86 plus games each of the past 7 seasons. Now, disclaimer: if the Houston Astros get to 86, they're close. They would also join this club too. So, since I don't like the Houston Astros, I would still give them their props too, right? So, what do you think about the feat that the Brewers just got? Which is again, they joined only the Dodgers as an 86 plus win team in each of the past 7 years.
Well, I think it's really impressive that the Milwaukee Brewers can do this over the last 7 years, especially when you look at the difference in the payrolls between the Dodgers doing it and the Brewers doing it. When the Brewers do it, they do it on low cost, on dimes compared to what the Dodgers are doing it on. And it's really not even comparable, these teams' payrolls. Dodgers are sometimes 2-3 times the payroll that the Brewers have been in the last 7 years when both these teams have done it. And I think that's really impressive.
I got to give you a little shout out there, man. Your Brewers are doing good.
Yeah, and to do it on their payroll, playing and competing, and even being in the same sentence of teams like the Dodgers who just throw money at the field, is really impressive and a crazy run to be on these last 7 years.
Now I have to ask you the flip side of this point. Does that even matter if they don't win a World Series?
I won't say it doesn't matter. It gets people involved. It keeps the fans engaged, and it's a lot better than no 86 win seasons in the last 7 years. That's for sure. It keeps your fans engaged. It keeps them coming to the ballpark. I won't say it doesn't matter, but I do think it takes a little bit away when you say, well, what have they done in the postseason? They're getting 86 wins in the regular season, but what have they done in the postseason? And to that, I will also give you the flip side of, well, the Dodgers have only done it in the shortened COVID season, and they're paying all that money. So who would I rather be, the Dodgers or the Brewers? I think a lot of people discount that COVID season and the 60-game season and the Dodgers World Series in that. So honestly, I'd rather be the Brewers. And if you think, well, you know what, it doesn't mean anything because the Brewers haven't done it yet, maybe this is the year. And maybe you want to go over to your sport book and put some money down on the Milwaukee Brewers to win the World Series in their 7th year of 86 plus wins. Because right now, the Brewers are at plus 1,700 to win the World Series. And so you can still make some good money. And that those are really good odds for the Milwaukee Brewers, who have a really good chance going into this postseason, especially if they squeak into the number 1 or 2 seed and get that bye in the first round of the playoffs. That would be huge. And at plus 1,700, they're sitting at a lot better odds to win the World Series than the Dodgers are. As far as money making goes, because the Dodgers are at plus 330 and the Brewers are at plus 1,700.
Okay, so money wise, what difference? How big of a difference is that? If I put, tell me if I put $10, I like to do just round numbers because I'm not smart enough to do any decimal points or anything like that, right? So if I put $10 on the Dodgers, what will that win me right now? And if I put $10 on the Brewers, what will that win me right now? So I know the difference between the two.
Yeah, so you put $10 on the Dodgers right now, you'll win a whopping $33 to win the World Series. And they still have to win the World Series for you to get a
Right.
single dollar of that. You put $10 on the Brewers right now, you win $170. So, quite the difference there. And both the teams still have to get it done. So if I'm putting my money anywhere there, I'm not worried about the $33. I'm worried about turning 10 into 170. So I'm putting my money on the Brewers there.
All right, and man, I don't. Telling you, I keep saying this. You are on point. We have jumped viewership in the last 30 seconds. I can see it in the corner. I know you can't. I don't think our fans can either. But you started talking about gambling, getting everybody all hyped up about the Milwaukee Brewers, and people are just jumping on board. It's like I don't know, you're a magnet. You're just bringing all the Brewers fans into your course, buddy. But let's talk about this a minute. Do the Brewers have a legit shot? We'll say going. Do they have a legit shot at representing the National League in the World Series?
I really think they do, and I don't think I'm being a homer when I say that. The Brewers' offense is humming right now. They are playing really good baseball, and if they can keep it up and keep their offense hot going into the postseason, they're a really really hard team to beat. They don't let you score runs. Their defense is great, and if their offense can do anything at the plate, they're a really hard team to beat because they're so well rounded. They're not going to make mistakes out in the field. They're not going to give you easy walks and easy runs to score. The Brewers are in a really good spot right now, and if they keep this brand of baseball up throughout the postseason, I do think they will be in the World Series. So I think that plus 1,700 they're sitting at right now are really good odds.
Now, wait a minute. Did I just hear you make a prediction that the Milwaukee Brewers will represent the National League in the World Series? Did I hear that coming out of the mouth of Mitch Moneybags Middlebrook?
Yeah, and I think that's where the homer comes in a little bit. I'll admit that. But I do think, oh, this side here, look at that. Brewers win. We might be seeing that a lot this postseason with the Brewers the way they're playing right now, and I'm hoping so. So
So let's talk about. I mean, really, I want to dive into this for a second. I really didn't plan on doing this, but I like where we're going here. We keep talking about it, and more people keep jumping on board. So they must like it when we talk about it. So let's do this for a second. We know Philadelphia is going to get in, and the Brewers beat Philly.
they did yesterday.
Okay, I knew you were going to do that. I set you up pretty well for that. The Dodgers. We know the Dodgers are going to make it in. Can the Brewers beat the Dodgers?
Yeah, I think especially with these injuries and how depleted the Dodgers are right now, we saw last year. I mean, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman really struggled in the postseason. If they have another stretch like that, anybody can beat the Dodgers. So I do think the Dodgers are beatable.
And of course, the Brewers are going to be the representative for that third division. So we're not going to say can the Brewers beat themselves, even though the postseason, that's almost kind of the formula, right? Sometimes that's what happens. But we'll say Padres, Diamondbacks, Brewers. I'm sorry, Braves, Mets. Those are the other four teams that are kind of into the four horsemen thing here. Those are doing all kinds of wrestling references today, right? So those are the other four teams that will more than likely be in the postseason, along with Milwaukee. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you that I like the Diamondbacks' chances. So I'm just going to hit you with this. Both of us, you went to Chase Field. That's the background there for you. I know you went to the game, I believe, on Sunday, right?
Yep.
I saw your family posting about it. I didn't see you post about it, but I saw your family posting about it, and you weren't in any of the pictures, by the way. It's almost like they cut you out on purpose. But anyway, so who would you take? I'm going to give you Brewers, Diamondbacks. Who are you going to take to make it to the World Series?
That's a really tough one, and they had a really great series this weekend. And the Brewers' offense really came alive. That game on Sunday was back and forth and really tight the whole time. I think, you know what, head to head, I like the chances of either of those teams making it to the World Series. I think head to head, the Brewers are going to have a little more fight this year after getting beat by the D-backs in the postseason last year and kind of having that itch for them. I think, the Brewers and D-backs still got 4 more games to play against each other this weekend coming up. So it's going to be a really tight series, and I think that's going to shed a lot of light on how these teams are going to play each other in a potential postseason matchup. Man, if I had to give it to either team, that's but if they can Corbin, to the way Corbin Carroll has looked for a majority of this season, I think the Brewers take that series because Corbin Carroll has struggled a lot this season, and if they can keep him down and not let him be the Corbin Carroll we saw in his rookie season in the postseason last year, I think the Brewers take that series.
Okay, stick with us here. I know we're bringing a lot of people in, and it must be because of the Brewers talk, and they're all, I don't know, maybe somebody else has stopped their podcast, and they've all switched over to us now. I don't know how this is working here, but our numbers are really jumping up. Let me give you this. The next thing we talk about is going to be something that I can almost guarantee you that no other baseball podcast is talking about, but I think it's a very interesting topic. We'll get to that here in just a second. So I'm going to tell you this. If the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, if they meet, when they meet the playoffs to get to the World Series, I will say this. That will be the best series on the National League side of the board. What do you think about that?
I agree. And based on this last weekend when they faced off, I think that exactly supports that. It was a great series, a lot of runs scored, a lot of back and forth. And a really tight one that the Diamondbacks pulled out at the end, walking it off, but they really needed to win to salvage a game in that series and not get swept and stay in that playoff push. So I completely agree. The way these teams are both playing right now and the way they play each other, it would be a really great series.
Very, very good job. That's very good. Very good. I want to agree with you. I want to talk about the Minnesota Twins for a moment. Not just the Minnesota Twins, the Minnesota Twins minor league system for a moment. And you're like, really? This is what you're going to say? Nobody else is going to talk about, but it's very interesting. Give me 30 seconds to set this up. I think you're going to like it. The Minnesota Twins released minor league catcher Derek Bender over the weekend, actually on Thursday, after he told opposing hitters of the types of pitches that were going to be pitched during a game that when his team lost, they were then eliminated from the playoffs. His team was in the lead by 6 games 3 weeks ago, and they lost that 6-game lead. A lot to do with because of how this pitcher reacted. Bender told teammates, quote, I wanted the season to be over. And then they turned around and released him. He was a catcher, first baseman. He was their 7th-round pick this season. All right. He'd already advanced 2 levels. He's a really good player. And the Twins got upset with him, got mad at him, and flat out released him. They didn't try to trade him. They didn't try to, nope, get the heck out of here. Right? And they cut him. They even cut him knowing that he signed for $297,500 and he's going to be able to keep all that money. What do you think about this story? I saw this and we had to talk about this. Right?
Yeah, wild story. I really couldn't believe it. I read up on this a lot because I don't think I've ever seen a story like this before. And maybe it's happened before and we don't know about it, but this is the first of its kind that's actually made it into the public eye, and that it at least has led to a release of the player
Right.
that we've seen.
So, should the Twins have released him? Or maybe I should say, do you agree with the Twins' decision to release him?
No, I don't agree with it. I don't think they should have released him for exactly the reason you said. This was a 7th-round pick in the draft this year, and he's already made it up 2 levels in the minor leagues. This looked at to the eye as a player that was going to keep rising as he did meteorically throughout the ranks in the minor leagues. And to give up on a guy because of that doesn't really make sense to me. You know, I get it's a really bad look. I get you have to set the precedent that you will not allow this no matter who it is, no matter what. But to straight up release the guy before any disciplinary action in the team and in the organization, I think that's too hasty and it's too much. This guy could end up signing to another team and making it to the majors and really making an impact for a team one day. And the Twins could be just out of luck. Maybe he turns it around. Maybe this is a wake-up call that he needs. You know, maybe he was done with the season. Maybe that raises questions about, is this guy really in love with baseball? Is this guy going to be giving his all every day, every game, every pitch? Or is this guy going to be like an Anthony Rendon who doesn't really like the game of baseball, wants to shorten the season and wants to get out there and get his paycheck and not play as many games as he can? I think all of those concerns and questions are valid, but I think you have to take more time to really answer and ask those questions than just straight up releasing the guy right after it happens.
Right. What I would like to see them do, and we're going to do the Arizona Fall League here in just a moment. We're also going to look and we're going to review some different things with www.welikesportspc.com here in just a moment as well. A great website that both Mitch and I are associated with, and we are proud to be associated with. So, we just talked about Tua. We talked about the concussion protocol. Mental health is a real thing. All right. I'm a first responder. I think most of you that have watched the show for a while know and understand that. I'm on a team with the first responders to where we help people. We embrace that. We talk to them. There's a lot of different things that go on in the lives of those particular people. They face crazy things every day, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. I don't want to go on a big rant about it. But I was very surprised that the Minnesota Twins didn't come out and say something like, we are doing a medical evaluation on this player, and we're seeing where his head is at. There have been players in Major League Baseball who have basically said, "Hey, I need a blow, right? I need a break." We've let people go back, like players from the Dominican who have been dealing with family issues. There's a bereavement list. There's we let people go away for births of children and things like that. I was very surprised that the Minnesota Twins, and I'm not knocking them as an organization. Maybe there's something with this that we don't know. This has not gotten a lot of publicity. The story has not, because it's a minor league player and the Minnesota Twins. It's not like they're the Dodgers or they're the the Boston Red Sox or any of these big teams. But I was really surprised to find out that they didn't do a medical evaluation on the player. I wish, as a first responder that I am, and the things that I've seen in my life and stuff like that, I wish they would have, and I hope they do, and I hope the best for this gentleman. But at the same point, you're sitting behind, so you've decided, right? Something in your brain has clicked and said, you know what, I want the season to be over. I'm thinking this thing, and not only am I thinking my season. I mean, you could have gone to the Minnesota Twins. I'm sure you could have gone to your coach and said, "My coach, and I need a break, flow. Um, I don't want to. There's something going on with me mentally. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I don't want to be playing minor league baseball right now. And I know we're in a pennant chase. Can I get a break? I'd much rather, and I'm sure the Twins would have much rather have done that, sit behind the plate going fastball, curve on the outside. However he was doing it, right? However he was pitching, and allowing his team to get beat and eliminated. For you to allow yourself to get beat is one thing. For you to do something where your team you represent gets beat is an entirely different thing. So I'm going to ask you: should they have done a mental evaluation on this player before they?
Yes, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think that's the first step to figure out, hey, this guy, I mean, I can't imagine this guy hates baseball. I can't imagine this guy would get drafted, make this his career, and do all of the hard work that it takes to get drafted in Major League Baseball to get to this point if he didn't love the game and didn't love
Right.
what he's doing. So there's got to be something up. There's got to be other reasons that he wanted the season to end. And you got to figure that out. You got to figure out, you know what, is there anything we can do to help this guy get through this point? Maybe he's got a lot of mental things weighing on him, but evaluate him, figure it out, try to help him, and get
Right.
him back to a point where he does love the game, where he doesn't want the season to end, where he keeps that passion. And that energy throughout his team. And maybe he turns around and he's the motivator for a team to keep the season going. But to give up on him right away and just drop him, I think it robs you of that chance, and it robs him of the chance to make up for, maybe a big mistake that you made.
Right. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let me talk about www.WeLikeSports for just a moment. So it's We Like Sports with a C, PC.com. Please go over and check out the website. We have gone over 1,500 mark as far as articles published. Let me give you a few that we have published since our last podcast here, College Football Week 4 preview. We have talked about the MLB Reds player spotlight. Chase Burns is that guy this week. If you want to know about Chase Burns, you can go there. MLW Wrestling Fightland. Caleb Williams started his NFL career. Feels all too familiar. Great article by Kendall there. You should go over and read that. We've got some things on the Saints and the Cowboys, the Reds and the Twins. Honor among wrestling. Yes, we do a lot of what we call indie wrestling. The Jets encounter turbulence in Tennessee. The Mets and their pivotal series against the Phillies. We did some more college football, the good, the bad, and the ugly, a weekly segment that we do all the time. Dallas and the Saints, the clash of the Cats and the Canines. We talked about the Browns and the Jaguars, and all kinds of other stuff. Another thing that we are looking at, what about Lindor and his MVP status? We will look at that pretty close, I believe, next week as we get really close to the MLB playoffs, and we can take a look at some of those things. I want to talk about something that's near and dear to the heart of both myself and Mitch Middlebrook. Mitch, I want to tell you first on the air that I am going to take some time off for this. How much I want to do the Arizona Fall League. I'm going to take some time off to do the Arizona Fall League. So, I spoke to my wife a couple of days ago. We're looking at different things. And I believe, those of you who are thinking about maybe going out and doing this, and you see us, you'll be able to see the mustache a mile away if he grows it back there. But so come over and say hi to us. We'll be at a lot of these Arizona Fall League games. We gave you a lot of stuff last week about pricing and all that kind of thing. Let's talk about the schedule. I have the schedule right here in my hand. They have made it public. You can go over to www.mlb.com/Arizona fall league. That will give you all the information on the Arizona Fall League and the schedule and the prices and all these special things we're going to talk about right now. Opening night is Monday, October 7th. That is opening night. Then this year we've got a lot of different things. Now, Mitch, I know, and I think we said it a couple of weeks ago, they take off every Sunday, right? That's traditionally what they've done. They have taken every Sunday off. That's not the case this year. This is fantastic. This is one of the things that I get upset about with spring training baseball. If they only play a day game on Sunday, they never play any night games on Sunday. And a lot of us have Sunday night off. And it's like, come on, people, you're missing a golden opportunity. I believe the Arizona Fall League has seen that. There are only 2 complete off days this entire schedule now. And that's from Monday, October 7th to the championship game, November 16th. Let me highlight a few things. Goodyear Ballpark usually does 3 games on one day. This Saturday, and they do 3 games. They do like an early game at like 10 o'clock. They do like a 1 o'clock game, and then they do another game like 5 or 6 that evening. And all of those games are usually 7 games. They shorten. They've got all 3. They're not doing that this year. Goodyear Ballpark. Here, where the home of the Indians and the Reds, I'll plug them really nice. They are doing a game on consecutive Thursday evenings. And I'm going to be at this one. I'm going to be at the October 10th one. And Mitch, just so you know, you can mark it down in your little calendar here. Valentine's going to take some time off, right? I'm looking at that first weekend, probably from Thursday to Monday. So I will more than likely be going to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday game, October 10th through the 14th. Look at it. You get your little calendar out like you think. Like that. The Goodyear Ballpark is doing a game Thursday, October 10th, October 17th, and again on October 24th. This year, buddy, I'm looking for it real quick. I lost it for a second. There it is, October 26th. American Family Field is hosting a game this year where somebody's Brewers play, right? That is on Saturday, October 26th. We are going to have GCU, Grand Canyon University, is hosting a game this year. That's on October 25th at 6:30. We're going to have a home run derby on November 8th. We're going to have the Fall All-Stars game on November 9th. And on the 15th and 16th, for those of you who have never been out here for this particular tournament, that's really what it is. It's a tournament. 5 teams make up a team. Each team gets to send 5 people. And that makes up the 25-man roster. There's some different things that go along with that. Again, not wanting to jump into the weeds of that too much, but that's the basic on how it works. This is a fantastic time for youth, for kids. They love baseball, and they yourself a baseball. All right, come see Mitch and I. Seriously, I'm going to buy a bunch of cards. I don't know what Mitch is going to do, but I'll be the crazy old man down there trying to get as many autographs as possible. Bring your kids to me. I'll make sure they get some autographs. Right. Man, the Arizona Fall League is a great time. As Paula said in her comments there. So I can't wait for the Arizona Fall League. Starts Monday, October 7th with a night game at 6:30. That is opening night with Saguaros at the Solar Sock. And then it will conclude with the championship game, November 16th. And that will be played at Salt River Field, where the Diamondbacks and the Rockies play spring training at here. Mitch, give me a few moments about what the Arizona Fall League means to Mitch Moneybag Middleton.
Oh, yeah, you just got me pumped, man. The Arizona Fall League is coming back even better this year. We both love the Fall League, and it's because of the baseball, and they're doing it well this year. They're not taking Sundays off. There's at least one game on every Sunday besides one, and that's the final week of the season for the Arizona Fall League. I'm so excited for this. I know we both talked about it. Like, man, I wish they had games on Sunday. We both got off. We can make it to them no matter where they are or who's playing. That's the one day we can always make, and to lose out on that every year with the Arizona Fall League was a bummer. And the fact that they rectified that this year and brought us back is great. I think it's awesome what they're doing with GCU. I think that's going to be a really cool game we can try to make there. I think it's really cool to see that they're going to be playing at American Family Fields and Goodyear Ballpark. It's just really exciting what the Arizona Fall League is doing this year, on top of already being a very exciting um, league in general. They're also playing on October 19th, all three games, as you mentioned, at Goodyear Ballpark with those 3 hour start differences. So that's going to be really fun. It's going to be a really good year. Yeah, it's going to be a really good year for Arizona Fall League. If you are down in the area and you want to catch a game with us, let us know. Find us on Twitter or X at the 643&Out pod. Find me, us, and let us know, and we'll make it happen. Because this is a great time, and if we can show you around and get you hooked on the Arizona Fall League, it's better for all of us. So I'm really excited. I'm pumped up. Really excited for the 1:30 start times now. So it used to be noon, and it was hard to make it out on like a half day or something. But that's a lot easier to do now. So 1:30 for start times for the day games and 6:30 for the night games. It's going to be really exciting, man. I'm pumped. And,
100%. And you mentioned it. I did not. You just mentioned it. Great job by you. If you get the packs, right, which is I don't know. I should go back and look at my notes here real quick. The pass is, I believe it was like $130.
yep, correct.
And that gets you into as many games as you can do, right? They don't limit you. They don't limit you to one game a day or anything like that. So it's fantastic. It's great value. We'll be there a lot. We're probably the best spokespeople for the Arizona Fall League that aren't getting paid by MLB. Come on. Just throw some tickets, okay? Man, that's all we ask for, right? So we want to be involved with this, and we want to be involved with this not for the money, not for everything else. We love this. That's all there is to it. It's a fantastic game, and we want to grow the game of baseball. We want to grow the 2024 Arizona Fall League. Mitch, I'll give you a few more seconds here, buddy, as the music plays in the background. I know we didn't go to church. I apologize, but we're already at 2 hours and 17 minutes. People have got to be getting bored hearing us talk by this point. So we're going to save going to church for next week. We will look at the different teams. That segment takes a few minutes, so it would probably get us up to the 2.5 hour mark, and I'm not sure if we want to do that. So we're gonna hang on to church for a week, and we'll come back and we'll revisit the podium next week. What you got for us as we wrap everything up?
Yeah, I just want to, I'd be upset if we didn't talk about my Detroit Tigers and the run they're going on right now and the push they're making to the postseason. So I just want to give a shout out to them. They're a game and a half back of the Twins for the final wild card in the AL. They're playing really, really good baseball, and this is a really fun young team to watch. So if you haven't watched much baseball this year, or you haven't caught a Tigers game yet, now's the time to tune in. This team is so fun, and it's a bunch of young guys that are all playing for each other. AJ Hinch has this team right, and you don't have to watch Javi Baez anymore. He hasn't played for weeks now, since August 22nd. And honestly, I think that's got a lot to do with what this team is doing right now. They're not being dragged down by Stinky Javi, and hopefully won't be dragged down by that contract much longer. But the Tigers are playing really good baseball right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10. They've won their last 3. Really exciting stuff, and they're only a game and a half back of the Twins. They just beat the Royals again today, and they need to win those games bad. So it's really exciting. Go Tigers, and hope they can keep it up and sneak into the postseason. But that's what I'll be watching over the next week. And if you're interested in baseball and want to get behind an underdog team that you can root for, why don't you make that be the Detroit Tigers and root along with us?
All right, buddy. Hey, let's do this social media stuff. I know you're the big YouTube guy. Let me have you plug our YouTube one more time. Tell them where they can find it, what they can find on it, and where they need to go.
Yeah, so you can find us on YouTube at the 643&Out pod. You can find the full show there, and find any clips you like. You can rewind, you can fast forward, you can do whatever you want. The full show will be on YouTube just after the show. You can find us there. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below while you're watching. Let us know what we did right and what we did wrong, and we'd be happy to see you there on our YouTube at the 643&Out pod.
All right, let me pump our Facebook here, the 643 and out guys. 643 and the and symbol, right? I don't know what that was, but it was supposed to be the and symbol, right? The 643 and out guys is where we're at on Facebook. We will be putting this show up there here shortly so that you can watch the two of us. Once again, we are on YouTube. We are obviously here on X where we get the majority of our fans. We certainly appreciate you being with us. We're looking at other platforms as well. So if you look at another platform and you're like, man, this is the platform that I like, and I'd like to see you guys go on that platform, let us know. So we're looking at different things, and we're trying to get out there as much as possible. So let us know where you guys get your podcast at. And as always, Mitch, the only thing that's fair in life, baseball, hit between the third and first base line. Thank you for tuning in. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mitch. I like you with us.